To all human beings, we agree there is a worrying situation for humanity. The balances between nations are increasingly precarious, and the different local wars threaten to spread. Real the danger that we end up suffering a new world conflict that, as you can imagine, would be a catastrophe without precedent in our history. We do not seem to be doing much either to prevent climate change, which will raise the level of the seas and oceans, or to clean the planet of the waste that makes it inhospitable for the proper development of life. The world is increasingly polarized into national and economic blocs that, far from agreeing on the solution to the most urgent problems, create difficulties and indefinitely delay the decisions we urgently need to take to regain hope. Far from getting down to action, we are more spectators of lousy news and becoming insensitive and indifferent to the powerlessness to change things. We watch life pass us by without doing anything, resigning, thinking that one day countries will agree and act together for the good of humanity. In the United Nations organization, the most necessary resolutions are unashamedly vetoed by those countries that, with their nationalistic and local interests, forget the common interest. Thus, the incompetence of international organizations make it necessary to reflect on the fact that problems are never solved. I am going to propose an idea. It is to create a mechanism that will serve as a tool for humanity to make decisions. Human beings as a whole, the human species, can and must make the decisions that affect our future beyond the interests of the different nations. Once implemented, people will have this mechanism as a common voice of humanity. Today, this so-called mechanism can be designed and implemented through the internet. Each person will have a voice and a vote in a government that will democratically make decisions by submitting them to debate and voting. We will also have the right and the duty to participate actively in the achievement of the different projects that will be approved by and for the whole of humanity to solve its problems. Specifically, the idea is to gather all people on a platform and start this self-government of humanity with a Congress in which each person will be a deputy and have his seat. In principle, we could take it as a video game, an application in which we will make the necessary decisions. We cannot allow some countries to drag us into a world war. We cannot continue to enable plastics to suffocate nature. We must not allow vast areas of the planet to become uninhabitable because of underdevelopment. I'm not talking about redistributing by taking from the rich to give to the poor. In principle, there are enough resources on our planet for everyone to enjoy dignified and fulfilling lives. Some will have more, but we will eradicate poverty, and all will have what we need to have a dignified life, a job, an education, and a family. In any case, the democratic decisions of the platform will be considered as humanity's explicit wishes. As such, they must be executed. It will be man who will decide for man and not some politicians. It will be us as a whole who will lead humanity toward a sustainable and prosperous future. But this will require an effort and a commitment. Being conscious beings, our consciousness will help us do what is necessary to save the world. No human entity is superior to the state, but none represent humanity, only the group of its citizens. In reality, we are citizens of the world. For millions of years, we have been free to move. Borders did not exist until only a few thousand years ago. Our history has brought us this far, and we will not deny it or deny our roots or cultural traditions. Wars, inequality, epidemics, natural disasters, etc., have only been necessary to reach our present. Now, a new stage is opening for humanity as a whole, and it will not be necessary to leave the place where one is because the problems that cause migrations will have to disappear. Decisions will have to be made, resources will have to be used to develop the whole planet sustainably, stop wars and destroy weapons, to add human and material resources to achieve each project. IT experts and developers have the task of setting up the platform and implementing it in all parts of the world so that people can register and start participating in the forums and make decisions by voting. Keep in mind that until it has been created and is operational, the simple project of it does not guarantee its success. It must be promoted, spread, and established in every corner of the world to represent the totality of humanity, that it has the maximum representatives, that it is universal. To the activists of the world for human rights, for solidarity, to stop climate change for freedom. Activists of the planet, you are the first to break the barriers, the taboos that oppress us, and the mental frontiers, and work to create this system in which the human species has a familiar voice that responds to its needs. Besides the current activism, each one of us must offer to actively participate in doing things for the good of humanity. That we open our hearts to our fellow men, that we have a sense of species, all equal, free, and brothers in a future that can no longer be left in the hands of partial or particular interests. Sustainability is no longer enough to continue playing with time, and we are resigned to suffering the first consequences. Let us do everything possible to reverse this pollution footprint and clean up the planet. And all this in an imperative way. It is not a matter of states taking measures. It is a matter of each of us taking measures, starting by being represented with our voices and our unitary votes in the whole of humanity. Today, communities are united through social networks. This will be a community with aspirations of universality, and in fulfillment of the duty that as a species, we owe ourselves to take the reins of a happy future for humanity. It will be a universal platform where we will register ourselves as human beings who want to be united and have a common voice. It cannot be that man ends up destroying man. Human beings are not stupid, but individual stupidity dents the whole, and this must be refuted. In any case, the votes, not the opinions, will mark the future. Each one will give his opinion freely, and those opinions, with more followers, will be taken into account and put into a vote. We cannot be satisfied with the present structure of the world. The true democratic power, the essence of democracy, is the individual. Just as the democracy is the individual. Just as any of us represent the species, all with the same genome, dignity, and right to decide. Only people who have made a sum of energy favorable to the good of humanity can feel delighted at the time of death, because our natural task is the protection and conservation of our species, our planet, and all life that inhabits it. Thus, we must use personal energy to minimize entropy in favor of life. I encourage every human being who sees this message, a genuine hope for the future, to begin the change we need. Let us feel part of the problem to be part of the solution. My best wishes for peace, love, and prosperity for everyone.